To tackle the issue of proxy teachers and absenteeism in Nagaland, the Nagaland Education Project, the Lighthouse, is developing a teacher attendance monitoring system as part of the World Bank supported Nagaland Enhancing Classroom Teaching and Resources Project. The purpose of TAMS is to provide all the school teachers and school leaders in Nagaland with the necessary software and hardware tools to report daily employee attendance in a reliable and timely manner. For this purpose, the TAMS will specifically employ facial recognition technology for person identification along with location and time stamping. As part of the NECTAR project's governance reforms, the system is being initiated by the NECTAR project and driven by the School Education Department to guarantee optimum classroom teaching and transactions by ensuring the attendance and presence of teachers in their respective schools and classrooms. In this regard, the pilot exercise is being conducted for all government schools under the Visema block in Kohima district at Chakama STO Civil Office from May 3 to May 6 to verify all the employees' data and registered authenticated employees via a robust process. And now to discuss on this matter, we'll be joined by L from the newsroom. Hi L, can you hear me?
Hello Atu, yes I can hear you from here.
Okay, thank you so much L for joining me tonight.
Thank you Atu.
So L, since now that the Nagaland government is going to, as mentioned, they're going to introduce a system to tackle proxy teachers. So how far do you think this application would be successful after the, if it comes out after the pilot testing?
Right now we still have to wait and see for the results. One thing we have to remember is that this system that is being introduced by the government of Nagaland is not the first time. And actually there have been similar, of course it was not technology based, it was not biometric based, but there were similar mechanisms that were introduced by communities and even student organizations. They have their own monitoring systems. And even in the past, the government had implemented various mechanisms to curb this whole menace of proxy teaching in Nagaland. So far, the very fact that for about 2 decades that we have been talking about proxy teachers and the effect it is having on our schools, and the problem is still persisting, itself tells us that the mechanisms that have been introduced even in the previous years have not been successful. So I think it is very too early for us to be optimistic about what the results of this new system might be. So I think it all comes down to implementation. If you are really stringent with your implementation and you are willing to put in not just efforts into developing systems and mechanisms, but also having the political will to ensure that you are instating a system that will actually have penalties entailed on you if you fail to do your duties for teachers. And if you are the government, then I think it is also bespoke on you that you should implement it not only in paper but also in spirit, and go down to the level where we go beyond the systems. We will have to go down to the disease itself, the root cause of the whole malady, Atu.
Adele, also could you please explain that in details over the years? What are the steps taken by the administration and the government to tackle the menace of proxy teachers, and how far were they successful, if there were any?
I think so far the systems that the government instated in the previous years in regard to curbing the menace of proxy teaching in Nagaland has always been limited to administrative functioning, administrative orders, and administrative diktats, if I may call that, because these orders, the notices and the actions taken by the government had always been limited to the administrative structure of the education system, education department. I think it could not find any takers in this case. In fact, even as far as 2006 and 2007, there was this huge upheaval across Nagaland when it was found that more than 5,000 government school teachers had no documentation, or they were illegally appointed, or most of them had inadequate qualification. For instance, I think it was about 4,500 teachers who were found to be illegally appointed. It was during 2006 or somewhere in that period. So even during that time, a lot of teachers were found wanting in their qualifications, wanting in the way they were appointed. But even those teachers were again absorbed back into the system, and I think most of them might be teaching now. So if we look at the way the administration has been handling the issue of proxy teachers, let alone illegal appointments, I think, of course, obviously it has not been successful. So that is the reason why I believe that it is too early to be optimistic about the new system, because we don't know if this will be successful the way the recent years have shown that they have not been successful. So we'll wait and see. Atu.
So, what could be the key reasons that the government and also the administration, they have not been able to, put this proxy attendance under, proxy under control? What could be the key reasons of them not being successful?
It all comes down to implementation, and of course, to be fair to the government, they cannot always be everywhere at the same time, in every place. They cannot put a check. We have got more than 1,200 government schools, I think, if I am clear about the data that we received recently. We have a lot of government schools, primary school, lower primary schools, higher secondary schools that are run by the government. And there cannot be monitors and check keepers on all the institutions, and especially in the remote areas of Nagaland, where there are some places that cannot be accessed by normal vehicles, So in those areas, you have to have teachers who have to be teaching in your place, because either you are too inconvenienced to be going to these remote areas to teach them yourself, so you have to pay certain amounts of money to some other person to teach in your place. There are a lot of different reasons. So the first is that the government cannot be in every place, in every school. That is first thing. And second, I think there are also a lot of socio-economic reasons in here that, and I've actually experienced this myself. I have had people come over to me, writing to me on Facebook saying, hey, do you have any jobs there, in your organization? And I tell them, but you're a government teacher, you're a government employee. Why do you have to seek jobs from me? And they tell me, I am a teacher, or I'm an employee of the government, and I'm posted here, but salary man nai, to aro income family cholawale income bishraya se. So those are the kind of people that keep proxy teachers or proxy employees, so that they can seek more income streams. So there are a lot of different reasons. So it is not only just the government, but also the employees themselves. So I think this will need more than technology or monitoring systems to curb the menace, because I think this will involve a lot of brainstorming for both the government and also some kind of a moral accountability from the employees themselves, to be able to say that they are working with integrity here, Atu.
Right, and also adding up to that, what we see here in Nagaland is that many teachers are not there in their respective schools or postings because of the irregularity of payment of salary also. Right. So do you think for the teachers who are posted there, especially in far-flung areas, they have a valid reason?
Yeah, definitely. I'm making this very clear right now. I'm not condoning their actions. If they are neglecting their duties, I think there is the government that will have to take care of that, and action should be initiated against them. But I also understand that, just like we said earlier, most of the government schools and establishments are in very remote places, and Nagaland is not a developed state. We are still a state that still has to wait for the central government to give us funds so that we can build roads, and we have been waiting for 30-40 years to build roads to our village villages. If you go to the villages and if you go and see the kind of infrastructure they have in the schools and in the remote areas, then you'll be shocked. You won't even find shops there. So I think it is easier for employees to also look at it from the economic point of view. They feel that they might not be paid too well, so that they want to save money so instead of spending 2,000-3,000 from here and go to some corner in Mon district to teach and pay more for rent and accommodations and for food and supplies and spend more money on the salary from which they're getting from the government, I think it is easier for them to just keep a proxy there so that they can save money in that sense. And someone told me recently that they have not been paid for about 3 or 4 months. And even if my sister-in-law, I think she was telling me we have not been paid for about 4 or 5 months, something like that. So there are real reasons, and I think we can penalize them, do it, take action against them, but also look into the side of the story and where the government fails also: infrastructure, connectivity, road, accommodation for the government employees. And then we can talk about accountability, not only from the government, but also from the education authorities at the rural level, so that they can take control of the situation too.
Right. Thank you so much, El. I think that's enough that's all for tonight. Thank you so much, El, for joining me.
Thank you, Atu.
That's all we'll have for now. Keep watching Hornbill TV.